there's been some important stuff. Started with there's a bunch of rumors going around the Sounders. We have one piece of official news at least, or two pieces. The first piece being that on December 26th, Sounders head coach Brian Schmetzer was named amongst the 15 finalists for the best club coach in the world. The list was created by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics. Schmetzer is not likely to win the award, but to see a coach in the MLS, let alone the Sounders head coach, be in that top 15 in the world is a pretty strong mark to see, and it's something that we should recognize, I think, at least, just considering the turmoil, not necessarily the turmoil, but the struggling season that Seattle had, and everything that's come with it since Schmetzer has taken over the top boss job with Seattle. And it'll be another interesting one as well. Seattle's going to have to add to their roster. They did so with this next piece on December 28th. The club was reportedly interested in talks to acquire Héber from New York City FC. He's a Brazilian player who's 31 years of age. He's recorded 24 goals and 6 assists in 70 MLS matches, with 8 of those coming last year, 2022. He won MLS Cup in 2021 with New York City FC and excelled in Croatia before joining New York in 2019. Just a day later, the club will officially make that trade happen, acquiring him from New York City FC. Seattle sends $400,000 in general allocation money and $150,000 of conditional general allocation money to New York City FC in exchange for the veteran attacker. So I've talked about this before with Seattle trading picks and trading other things for this general allocation money. It's going to be used somewhere. That's always whenever you see that stacked in succession over the course of a few weeks, a move's going to happen. It happened with Jordan Heidema. It happened with Tobin Heath with the Reign. It's just how it works. And it happened with the Sounders trading Brad Smith to get some general allocation money, and they were able to get Albert Rusnak in last offseason. So as part of that trade package, Seattle would send New York $200,000 of 2023 allocation money and $200,000 of 2024 GAM, as well as that additional $150K if certain performance metrics are met. The Brazilian does not occupy an international roster spot and is under contract for the 2023 season and has a club option for 2024. General Manager Craig Weibel had this to say about the move. We are excited to bring in Héber and strengthen our team with a proven veteran attacking player. His track record across multiple leagues speaks for itself, and he's been an impact player since coming to MLS. I'd like to welcome him to Seattle and look forward to watching him work with our existing squad once camp begins. So I like the move personally. You were looking, once you decided that Will Bruin wasn't coming back in this offseason, you're able to sign Freddie Montero for next to nothing. You kind of figured that Seattle had to get a backup veteran attacker, and they did come out and say that. Craig Weibel came out and said that, and they did so. Some people were upset. There's two ways to look at this. Right? He's 31 years old. Some people have wanted Seattle to go younger and kind of get rid of the aging contracts, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, to an extent, rebuild, right? This is a move by Seattle that they're going to continue to reload as opposed to rebuild. And they look at the 31-year-old who's 8 goals last season. It's not laughing. It's not a insult, I wouldn't say. And it's just basically Seattle is reloading, and they're not planning on starting that rebuild right now. They're going to do what they can and get the last sort of juices out of guys like Nico Ladero, maybe Stephen Fry, Freddie Montero, and continue Raul Ruiz-Diaz, and continue to go with the group that they've got and have confidence in the group that they've got, with a lot of players returning this upcoming year. So I think this is just a retool move. It was interesting to see a lot of the fan base kind of be like, who's this guy? And to an extent, there were comments that, you think about this, like Inter Miami was rumored to get Messi. Toronto FC signed Insigne to like the biggest contract in free agency in MLS history. A lot of fans want the Sounders to go out to get guys like Luis Suarez, who are aging, and get them on aging contracts. And I don't think that's necessary. Like with the Mariners, right? Why go out and pay a guy like Carlos Correa for 10 years when I want to be able to build from the draft? I want to build from within. I want to build young.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they're retooling right now instead of rebuilding. I'm okay with it personally. I'm not too worried about it. And with a lot of this group being a group that, you won Champions League with in 2019, a good amount of them were here for the MLS Cup. So I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. You see the banner that I've got below my teeth here with these rumors. You talked about the Héber rumor. There was a rumor in the same day that Cristian Roldan may be in line for a big extension. Sources tell us that Seattle is looking to give the midfielder a 5-year extension to stay with the club. Those sources also say that there were multiple offers for Roldan on the table, including 2 outside of the MLS, which you look at MLS, and a lot of players will go from MLS to other leagues and use the MLS as a launching ground. And it sounds like Roldan is going to be one of those. You look at this in general sports, right? Whether it's the NFL, the MLB, WNBA, even NHL, NWSL. NWSL is a big case of this. A lot of these leagues, even you look at MLR with teams we covered. There's not many one-team players anymore. Just not with the way business works, with the way money, all this. And Roldan, with this extension, may be one of those guys. So that would be cool to see. But to this point, to the fact that it says this right below my finger, it's a rumor. So we'll go with those sources. If it's right, then we got it right. If it's wrong, maybe it fell out. Less than a rumor, though, this has been something that's been a talk since last season. And there were discussions that after the World Cup happened, Nouhou would be transferred. It is after the World Cup, the Men's World Cup, that is. But there was a big, heavy report that Nouhou was drawing heavy interest in the transfer market to a Cameroon club. Nouhou is from Cameroon. But those rumors actually turned out to be fake, as the club that was linked to him, that was reportedly looking into him, they came out and legitimately said, hey, that's not true. So that kind of, and then Jeremiah Oshan, who's a great Sounders reporter, pointed out that one of the sources and journalists that was pointing it out in his bio was respected Cameroon journalist. I could go for your word for it, dude. If I put in my bio respected NHL photographer, who knows? Maybe people believe me. I don't know.
You're not Liv.
No, I'm not. Liv's giving me that stare right now. Guest appearance on Circling Seattle. The camera's right here. I could turn the camera right now. So, Liv Lyons is behind the camera in a different way right now. Not one that I'm sure they like. But anyway, that Nouhou thing was squashed. Nouhou is probably still going to get transferred at some point, but we don't have any clear indication on where and when that might be. On January 2nd, this morning, defender Aaron Long reportedly has the Seattle Sounders on his short list. This is another rumor, but Taylor Twellman, who's a big MLS guy, big MLS pundit, talking head, whatever you may call him, said that the Sounders and Miami were these 2 players. Long has narrowed down his list, to 2 MLS clubs, Seattle and Inter Miami. Offers from Liga MX's Cruz Azul and CF Monterrey, and a few European clubs, including 2 in England. He has rejected offers from Saudi Arabia amid interest in Long as a free agent. So, Seattle, that would be sort of a crowded space. Just considering that at this point right now, you still have Nouhou, you still got Javier Iraga, you still have Yeimar, you still have Alex Roldan. So that's 4 defenders. Unless you decide to go 5 defenders, which I highly doubt Seattle does, you have to figure someone moves, and maybe that's something that happens when Nouhou gets moved. But we'll have to see about that. So lots of rumors, but Seattle does officially acquire a backup forward in Héber. We look to Lord of League Newts here, and it's unfortunate. I said League Newts. I keep doing that, dude. It's
Newts.
League Newts. Noot. If anybody watched Pingu, Liv has not seen Pingu. You're supposed to be the elder here. On the 29th of December, this has been a topic for a few months with Pele. Pele's been dealing with some health stuff, and unfortunately, Pele would pass away at the age of 82 due to colon cancer. 3-time World Cup winner and just a football icon. A lot of people, when they think of, like these debates about the greatest of all time, and unfortunately, I think the GOAT word is used a little too often nowadays. Pele was like universally, to an extent, agreed as here's my thing. You look at greatest running backs of all time, right? When I think of greatest running backs, I think of guys like Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders. Those 3 are typically put in there. A lot of people put Emmett Smith in there, and I understand that. But those three that I just listed are usually who I go for. Pele was one of those guys that was kind of generally like, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to see here if I've got it. Shoot. Oh, it's a web photo. There was, I tie this in here. We can tie this into Seattle. Once Pele with the New York Cosmos, way back in the days of the Kingdom, Pele was here in Seattle, and he scored a bicycle kick goal. And there's this great photo, if you look up Pele Seattle, where he's in the air and he's about to launch it. So just really unfortunate, for that to happen. 2022, the last few years have taken a lot of people, right? So it's really tough for that. But the best thing you can do is continue to honor the legacy of these folks, and there's so many ways to do so. So hoping and praying, that for his family as they deal with that loss there to a true icon.